So we're going to end up the morning session. We have an update and discussion on the major changes and developments related to work for people with disabilities by Joe Xavier, who is the director of the Department of Rehabilitation. Mr. Xavier is an inspirational leader for our community, and he's really laser focused on improving employment outcomes for all people with disabilities in California. In addition to Mr. Xavier, we have a representative from the Department of Developmental Services and the California Department of Education, and he will take care of introducing those people and getting this panel started. So let me present Joe Xavier. Oops.
So good morning. Am I coming through the mic okay? Not too close, not too far.
Perfect.
First of all, hello to everybody. You sure picked a nice day to be inside a hotel, because on the way here it started drizzling and it was pouring by the time we walked in the door in a matter of 3 blocks. It's always great to be invited to come here and to share information with you and learn from you some of the concerns that you have. So today I wanted to start by acknowledging the leadership of ARC and UCP for the work that you're doing, and certainly Tony, as executive director, and Pat, what you guys are doing and pulling this together. We walk in, it's always good to go. Always makes it look easy. We know how hard it is, so thank you for that. And certainly a number of our partners who were present. I want to acknowledge you and thank you for the work that you do supporting all 3 of our departments. And then we have some of our leadership here and the department staff and the work that they're doing. So today, I'd like to cover a couple of quick topics. We have myself and Brian and Jennifer from Developmental Services and Education, respectively, and we have 45 minutes. They said I can go for 50 and they'd be good to go, but I'll try not to do that because we want to hear from everybody, and then if there's time for some questions, we'll do that. I'll talk a little bit about competitive integrated employment and the blueprint, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, as well as our Promise project. But these updates, obviously, in a 45-minute slot with 3 departments will be high level. But if you get information here, you can always follow up with us on any details. And for those of you who don't know, let me start with a little bit of a very quick overview of the Department of Rehabilitation. It's providing services to gain, retain, regain, or advance employment for individuals with disabilities. We serve about 100,000 individuals annually through our vocational rehabilitation program, and we serve all disabilities. Our independent living services include our independent living centers, our traumatic brain injury providers, as well as our older individuals who are blind providers. And in total, across all our programs, we serve about 140,000 individuals with disabilities each year. Let me talk a little bit about the competitive integrated employment work that we're doing with the blueprint. Real pay for real work in the real world. That's the tagline, the mantra, that's the lead that we use. So we started with the blueprint back in December of 2014, where the 3 departments of rehabilitation, the Department of Developmental Services and Education came together, signed a memorandum of understanding to partner on advancing the Employment First initiatives here in California and moving to competitive integrated employment. There's a steering committee that includes the 3 departments, as well as Chris Kent from our Health and Human Services Agency and representatives of DRC that oversee and provide the direction for the blueprint development. And then we have a work group of subject matter experts from each of the 3 departments that are doing the truly heavy lifting. The goals of the blueprint are to improve collaboration and partnership between the 3 departments to secure competitive integrated employment, to build system capacity to improve the opportunity for competitive integrated employment, and to increase the ability of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to pursue and enjoy competitive integrated employment. That's in effect what the entirety of the blueprint is focused on, those 3 areas. Each of the goals has objectives, targets, and actions attached to them so that we can measure where we are today as well as the progress that we will be making as we move into operationalizing the blueprint. As part of that, we're focusing on 5 fundamental career pathways to achieve a competitive integrated employment. Transition services, adult pathways to employment, post-secondary education activities, supported employment services, customized and other supports for employment, and then business partner engagement, because as we will all understand, it's only a job if somebody's willing to hire you. So we obviously need to get our business community engaged. We've had stakeholder input into the development of the blueprint. A number of stakeholder forums have been conducted. And so what are the next steps, right? We've shared with you over the last couple of forums. What's next for us? Well, we are very close to finalizing the blueprint. Once we finalize it, we're going to be posting it for public comment, and we're going to be holding a public forum to hear from you and the rest of the community on what's in that blueprint. So we really want to encourage you to stay alert for that, and when that opportunity to share your feedback on it takes place, we want to hear from you. Whether it's on the calls or whether it's in writing, we'll take the comments any which way that we can. And then, of course, once we go through that entire process, then it's a matter of finalizing the blueprint and then beginning the work to operationalize it and make it real. Let me talk very quickly about 2 other updates, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and the Promise Grant, and then I'll turn this over to Brian. Under the WIOA, the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and I won't cover that entirely because that would be the rest of the day and tomorrow, and I might get the hook. But I want to talk about 2 key things. One is pre-employment transition services. And there are 5 key services that are provided to individuals who are students, essentially between the ages of 16 and 21, and in a high school setting for us. Job exploration counseling, work-based learning experiences, counseling related to post-secondary educational opportunities, workplace readiness training, and self-advocacy training. Those are the 5 core services that need to be provided to that population, and we have a number of initiatives underway to roll out those services to the youth who are students. Let me talk a little bit about supported employment and competitive integrated employment as it applies to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. For the Department of Rehabilitation, supported employment will be used on a short-term basis. That's supported employment that's not competitive and not an integrated setting. It becomes essentially a pathway for competitive integrated employment. So simply put, if an individual can benefit from being in a supported employment setting that is not integrated and is not at least minimum wage, we will put that individual there as long as it's building a pathway to competitive integrated employment and on a short-term basis. There are, under the WIOA, a requirement that we provide services to individuals who are in the supported employment, non-competitive settings, so that they can get the information and the services to transfer from there to competitive integrated employment. And we have one of our budget proposals is to get staffing to advance that initiative. Now, for the Department of Rehabilitation, we will only close individuals in competitive integrated employment, and that's a requirement under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. On Promise, a couple of quick updates. You will recall that it's a study that brought $55 million to California over 5 years to provide the services to 14 youth between the ages of 14 and 16 who are on SSI, to get them either the education or the training and the pathway so that they can transition off of the reliance on public assistance. And that grant runs through 2018. There are federal partners, state partners, and local partners as part of that study. Now, here's some good news. We have reached our target enrollment of over 3,000 students 2 months ahead of schedule. So clearly there's an interest there, and we were one of the few states to get that target as soon as we did. The other thing that we're doing with the Promise initiative is we are standing up a vocational rehabilitation team to provide services to those who are in the study that are getting the intervention services, and that will include both of the students and the family, so that again, the whole objective here is for individuals who are on SSI to transition into meaningful competitive integrated employment, which will reduce the reliance on public benefits. So I'm going to stop there in the interest of time and turn this over to Brian Winfield from the Department of Developmental Services to provide you some updates.
Good morning. Thank you, Joe. I was asked to give you an overview this morning of the provisions that are contained in AB 2X1, the legislation that was signed by the governor on March 1st. And the overview that I will give you there are three components to that overview. And these components are in addition to the additional pieces of the legislation which provide a rate increase for service providers with regards to direct service staff as well as administration. So the first part of the bill provides an increase to the supported employment rate of $3.42 per hour from $30.82 to $34.24 per hour for supported employment. The second part of the bill, and all of these changes have to do with the system's desire to increase competitive integrated employment for individuals with developmental disabilities. The second component is to increase paid internships. And the law authorizes the Department of Developmental Services to develop guidelines and to oversee a program that will provide this internship program through the service providers in the community. In developing the guidelines and overseeing the program, the Department of Developmental Services is required to consult with a number of stakeholders. It includes regional centers, employers, supported employment providers, and the client's rights advocates, as well as the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Some of the parameters around the paid internships is that it can be, for one individual, it can be a benefit of no more than $10,400 per year. So that's the amount of money that an individual could earn in a given year through the paid internship. The placements must be made into competitive integrated employment settings, and the placements must be made into internships that will help individuals to develop skills that will lead to paid employment. So that's the second piece of the legislation. The third piece of the legislation is an incentive for supported employment providers to place individuals into competitive integrated employment, and those are incentive payments to the providers. So upon placement into a job site, the supported employment provider will receive a $1,000 payment. When the consumer has achieved 6 months of competitive integrated employment, the provider will receive a payment of $1,250. And then when the individual has been in the paid employment for up to a year, the payment goes up to $1,500 a year. I'm sorry, $1,500 for the provider. These two last provisions, in the bill, it is specified that the department has up to $20 million to spend on these initiatives. And so as the legislation directs, and as we typically do, we will be reaching out and working with the provider organizations and the other partners that are specified in law to develop these programs. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Jennifer.
Good morning. There are many changes at the federal level that are helping California to make changes at the state and local level. We have the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. We have Employment First. We have the new home and community-based services requirements. Am I too close to the mic?
Oh, you're perfect.
Okay. We can tell by the way that these policies are written that our federal partners are communicating and planning rather than working in their silos. We are hoping that they aren't in silos at all, but we know that they haven't been acting in those to create these new pieces of policy. So they're modeling for us in a way that the way that we need to work. They're helping us decide I think we've already decided, but I think they're helping us to focus more on outcomes for individuals with disabilities, and they're helping us to work more collaboratively. And the main way that we're working collaboratively right now is that we're working on the competitive integrated employment blueprint. And so the whole idea of that blueprint is to make sure, as Joe said, is to make sure that we have opportunities for competitive integrated employment for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And again, we like to call that real work for real pay in the real world. And we were hoping that with that federal landscape and with the updates that you've just had, that you might have some questions for us. So I'll sit down and we'll, as a panel, take your questions. Thank you.
Another question for Rick.
Yes, what if somebody does not benefit well from a supported employment setting that is non-competitive, non-integrated? I asked that question because I went to Goodwill Industries and I went to Pride Industries, both of which here in this area, and those settings were not right for me. Yet when I was put in a competitive integrated setting, I did much better. And also, my piece to the blueprint would be, let's help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, such as myself, help us to get into the UC or CSU if we wanted to. Thank you.
I guess I can start that. Sir. Is this on?
Yes.
Yes? Cool. So I'm going to start this, but while I'm doing this, I'm going to invite the A team to come on up here because we have Bill, who's our field services deputy, and then Lana and Kelly, who've been working on the blueprints. If you guys want to walk up here, in case I can't answer the questions, you get to. It's called delegation. So, but Rick, thank you for your question. If I'm hearing you correctly, this really is not about one size fits all. It's really for the Department of Rehabilitation. It's truly about finding what's best for that consumer, for that individual, and matching them with those services and in the right program so we can advance them through their plan into competitive integrated employment. So, Bill?
Yes, Joe.
So, okay, so I'll Bill and Lana, if you guys want to add, Kelly, you guys want to add anything to that?
Good afternoon. Good morning. I'm Lana Fraser, and I'm the project manager right now for the Side Blueprint project. And, you know, your question is an excellent one because that's one of the focuses we've had in terms of the blueprint and in terms of implementing the Workforce Innovation and Opportunities Act is that it's individualized, and we're really looking at person-centered planning. And person-centered planning is the key throughout the blueprint. So it isn't that someone must go to some minimum wage or a non-integrated setting before they can go to SI. What we're really looking at is customizing what needs to be done, and it's what we call a sequential provision of services between the three departments that will help someone reach that competitive integrated employment goal, if in fact that is what they choose to do.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to emphasize what our director, Xavier, and Lana, my colleague, have said. It is really about desire, providing individuals with disabilities with the information that they need to make informed decisions and to ensure that there are competitive integrated opportunities for all of those who choose to work in competitive integrated employment jobs that will afford them to live independently and do some of the things that we all like to do as a result of being employed competitively.
And if I could just, I'm sorry I should have introduced, Bill Moore is our Deputy Director for our field services, so all of the vocational rehabilitation services, he and Elena Gomez are the deputies over that. And Lana Fraser is a retired annuitant who has come back out of retirement to help us with putting the blueprint together because she has a very long, distinguished history working with the Department of Rehabilitation on supported employment, as well as many, many of our other programs, the Transition Partnership Program with the school system. And Kelly Hargraves is our Chief Counsel and has been very instrumental in making sure that we are applying the statutes as liberally and as beneficial to the consumer as we can possibly do so.
I have a question for the Director of Department Rehab, Joe Xavier. My name is Connie Arnold, and I want you to clarify the van purchasing program for consumers. And I want to know if there's been any recent directives regarding vans and where you can get them, modified vans specifically. And also, where can I get a copy of the Rehabilitation Administrative Manual?
So, and I'll ask Bill to speak to the van services because he deals with that much more specifically. You know, sorry, I don't know where you're standing, so if I'm not looking at you, it's not.
I'm directly in front of
Oh, good. There you are. Thank you. The problem with a microphone is everybody comes from the ceiling, so I never know where to look. So there has been no change to speak of in terms of van purchases, but I'll defer to Bill to speak to you with a little bit of detail on that. In terms of where can you get a copy of our Rehabilitation Administrative Manual, if you can get Bill your name and or some contact information before we go, be glad to ship it to you. But fair warning, it's not 10 pages, okay? It's many hundreds of pages. So we can certainly make sure that we get that to you, whether you want it electronically or print copy, either way.
electronically.
Okay.
So we have a mobility evaluation program that is housed in Southern California, and we refer to it as MVP. MVP does assessments, evaluations to determine if individuals who are eligible for these type of services can become independent, safe drivers with appropriate adaptive equipment. In regards to eligibility, I would encourage you to make an appointment with a counselor or talk to a counselor that could really provide you with detailed information. But basically, we provide these services to, if you're referring to purchase of a vehicle, a van, that the Department of Rehabilitation would assist you with. There are certain things that we look at. Number one, the counselor would determine whether or not there are other transportation services that are available to you as a client of the Department of Rehabilitation while you are participating in your approved individual written rehabilitation plan, if you will. If there are no other accessible transportation services that are available to you, and you're unable to use other alternative transportations, you may qualify for assistance for purchase of a vehicle, and the Department of Rehabilitation would work with you to help you to help us to make that determination. We also assist with van modifications if needed. Some of our consumers already have vehicles and they need assistance with modifications while they are participating in an approved individual written rehabilitation program. And that is an important point, that our consumers must be in an approved individual written rehabilitation program to obtain these services. I hope that answers your question, but I would encourage you to talk with a counselor for more detailed information, and give me your name, your email, and I will provide you with the information on the manual that you requested.
I'll see you after this.
Okay.
But just a comment, I'm helping a UC student who's a wheelchair user with a significant disability, and she's nearing the end of her plan, and she hasn't had a lot of support from the Department of Rehabilitation. And the new counselor that she saw out of the Berkeley office told her they didn't do vans anymore for people.
Well, I appreciate hearing that. I will certainly contact that office and clarify, make sure that all of our staff there are informed. Also, I would share with you that when individuals receive this type of information that's inaccurate, or that our consumers have some concerns about this type of information, I would encourage all of them to talk with the supervisor of that particular office or that particular staff person. There's the client's rights and remedies where all of our consumers have a right to receive services from an advocate that would represent them, to make sure that they receive the services that they are entitled to and qualify for.
And who is the CAP advocate now for like that Berkeley area? Is it a CAP advocate from Sacramento?
It's
or?
DRC, Disability Rights
Okay.
of California.
Okay. Thank you.
And we can provide you that information also in our consumer information handbook. And that's included in our rights and remedies as well.
Isn't it true that they have to be in the middle of plan services in order to get the van? A lot of them are being told they can get it after they get a job. And
It all depends on the individual situation, so I don't want to speak in general, but I would say, no, someone does not have to be in the middle of services as you described. It is really based on need. It is based on need and what the individual needs in order to participate successfully in his or her individual written rehabilitation program.
Okay, I'll talk to you after.
Okay.
Great, we've got some questions on the right side of the room from the panel's point of view. And what's your question?
Brain Hicks California's disability rights, the ABLE account is now passed. And because that way people can save some more money than they don't have that restriction anymore because of Social Security. Does that change anything? And what's the difference between the ABLE account and the PASS account?
So the question, what's the difference between the ABLE account and the PASS account?
Yeah.
Wow. How much time do you have? Well, first of all, the ABLE account, the law passed here in California. It is not implemented yet, but the ABLE account allows the individual to set aside, I think, and I'm sorry because I'm going a lot from memory here, so please.
14,000.
14,000?
Yes, a year.
14,000 a year up to a certain amount.
350,000.
350,000. I should give you the microphone here. And essentially, the short version is that it allows money to be set aside to meet the needs of an individual with disability and have those not impact your Social Security earnings. I think it's a very short version of that. And I will defer to Bill or Lana to speak on the PASS account. I'm less familiar with that, but it's also a way to save some money to buy certain goods that you may need, is my recollection.
Wasn't the PASS account used to go to school?
Okay.
Isn't the PASS account used to go to school so you can save for education, the PASS
Can you
account?
use the PASS account to go to
Yeah,
school?
the PASS
Yes.
one.
Yeah, I want to say yes.
Yeah, the PASS accounts, again, it's a negotiation that you make with Social Security, and you can write the PASS account, or somebody can assist you in writing a PASS plan. And the PASS plan can pay for a multitude of things, including, at one time, a lot of times people use the PASS account to help pay for some of their vans. But a PASS account for school is absolutely an outstanding use of your PASS. But you can use it in combination with working with the DOR. If you really want to maximize your benefits here, use a PASS plan and also take advantage of the services with DOR and cobble it together to make the best plan for you and the best use of your funds.
And then for those of you who don't know what a PASS plan is, it stands for Plans to Achieve Self-Support.
Oh,
There you go.
nice. Sorry, good, thank you.
What a partner. Hi, I'm Connie Lakin, and I do sit on the Employment First Committee, and I was very happy to hear the word person-centered plan mentioned, because to have competitive integrated employment, you really have to partner and pair it with somebody's needs. So I'm just concerned, I'm very involved with self-determination, and I'll be speaking later on it, but who pays for an authentic person-centered plan? And I know in the system, I have a son with severe autism. He's going to be actually 48 in 2 weeks. So I've been through PASS. I've been through a lot of plans, but I want to make sure that there is an authentic person-centered plan and there's the funding to follow it. It isn't, we all try to person-center everything we do with people with disabilities, but it's very different from the existing IPPs, ISPs,
EPs, whatever, I'm missing some, I know. So I am concerned that there's funding for the person-centered planning and that we all view it as separate from what exists today. So is it funding?
Well, let me address the funding part first, and Alana can talk a little bit about the detail. Neither in the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, nor in any of the DOR's funding do we set aside money specific for the planning part of that. I mean, that's in the department, that's part of the individualized plan. Truly is that one-on-one engagement between the consumer and the team on what goods and services are necessary to get them to the agreed upon job goal at the end of that. I certainly will defer to Brian, if there's anything with the new legislation around, funding for planning itself, and Alana can address the person-centered in the blueprint concept. But again, keep in mind that in the blueprint concept, it's about the departments aligning our collaboration, our policies, and our practices so that there's that seamless transition.
You're absolutely right. There are a lot of plans. There are the plans that education writes. There's the plans that regional centers write. And there are the plans that the Department of Rehabilitation writes. And then you want to throw in a past plan. We got a lot of plans. So one of the intents of the blueprint is the coordination of those plans. And you're important and follow the money in terms of who's funding what as we go along. And we're calling it the sequential provision of service. The reason that putting together this blueprint has taken us a little longer than we want is how complex this really is in terms of the three departments coordinating the services. I'll use a term that we kind of use in the work group. What we want to see is oftentimes if someone is in a plan in education and they leave education and then they go to the regional center and then they come to the Department of Rehabilitation and then they go to a service provider, every time something gets rebooted, it's like you're starting all over again. And it's like, hey, nobody's even talked to you. And so it's like everybody's starting over. So we're looking at not wanting to reboot. And that's the term we've had. We want to make sure that whatever has been developed in education goes with you when you either go to a regional service provider or if you go to the Department of Rehabilitation. One of the first work products that will sort of giving you a preview of what's in the blueprint. That's okay. We're close. One of the major work products that will be coming out of the blueprint, the first one, will be a guidance document that will go out from the three departments to the providers. Everyone will have access to this. It will go out to the DOR staff. It will go out to local education in sharing with people how the best way to, in fact, do this so that we are working together. And that's the goal of the blueprint rather than, as I said, rebooting. So hang with us. I'm not going to say this isn't going to be a little bit of a bumpy road, but I think our intent is we're having conversations that we've not had before.
I appreciate your honesty.
Other questions?
I have a question.
Right up front here, right in the middle.
Do you anticipate a coordination, maybe concurrent, not necessarily sequential, between a person who wants a day program and employment services? So there's two services happening at the same time.
I was hearing it. I heard it.
Yeah.
So I would say yes. And it really is a collaboration and a partnership with the Department of Rehabilitation, the Department of Education, Department of Developmental Services. And once again, we're talking about services based on an individual's need and professional staff meeting and working in partnership with individuals with disabilities to determine what is it that they desire after they receive information that will allow them to make informed decisions. And that is the reason for some of the WIOA requirements to make sure that persons with individuals receive career counseling, information and referral, self-advocacy, mentoring, and what am I missing?
Work experience.
Work experience. Those services really so that they are informed and can make that decision either with their representatives or family members, and that's what it's all about.
Maybe Brian, do you want to talk about day program?
So, is this on? No?
Is it on? No, it's on.
It's on.
So as a part of an individual's individual program plan through the regional center, they can absolutely have in there the types of day services that they want to participate in and or work services. And the work services and the day services are not mutually exclusive. A person can certainly participate in both at the same time, or through the day services or the work employment service, they can gain competitive integrated employment. And in fact, a lot of times regional centers today are using, for example, the tailored day service code that was established in statute several years back to customize a person's day around what they want to do and to provide employment services. So all of those items can be discussed and can be delineated in the individual program plan per the person's wants and needs.
We have time for one more question, and that would be from Mark.
I'm curious, Brian, about your last comment. Does this, will this require day programs to have CARP accreditation? If they're providing employment services within the day program, will they be required to have CARP?
The CARP requirement.
Yeah, currently, no, they're not required.
I didn't hear the question, but I'm not hearing an answer. Well, it's not required one. We are going to break now for lunch. Let me just remind you that we have a special guest coming around noon today, so you want to stick around for that. In fact, you want to stick around all afternoon because legislative people are going to be here. We want to show a strong front. We want to show that there's great interest. So stick around with us all afternoon. Meantime, help yourself to lunch, and we will get back to our program following that. Thanks.